Okay, like I said, this is day 3 of our judging for ETHOnline. To sort of give everyone a sense of the scale of this, which we were just talking about, there's over 700 hackers have joined, and we had over 1,000 applications come in. And the current hackers are from 65 countries across 19 time zones. We've had a ton of great projects, and we topped out at about 175 projects submitted. So that's what's being judged over all of these days. I'll run quickly through the format for everyone. As everyone knows, each team will have a 4-minute, no longer than 4 minutes video demo, which will start at the start of each team's judging session, after which there's a 4-minute Q&A. And then about halfway through this set, we have about 16 teams we're going to do today. So around team 8 or 9, we're going to do a 10-minute break and then return. To just discuss for everyone's benefit the broad criteria that we have asked the judges to apply. There's a technicality criteria, originality, the practicality of the hack. They give consideration to the UI, UX, and the DX. And then there's that wow factor, if it's just a cool idea or something else that really catches their eye. We stress, if you've gone to an ETHGlobal event, we really stress, of course, there's a competitive aspect to it, but this really isn't at its core a hardcore competition, because we really emphasize the experience of everyone here. We hope people are here to learn and that they've learned a lot. Even for this particular judging session, the goal here isn't necessarily to make the hack a business. We're not, focused on cultivating that. That's up for the hackers themselves. But you should take this opportunity. It's not just judging, it's to get some good feedback. This is a rare opportunity to get a serious amount of attention from different experts in the field. So we hope everyone focuses on that. I'd like to introduce our esteemed judges for today's session: Simona Pop of Status, Jesse Walden from the Variant Fund, and Austin Griffith from the Ethereum Foundation. Welcome. We thank you very much for your time. And at which point I will now hand it off to Andy, our timekeeper, and I will go off camera. Good luck, everyone.
All right, so our first team is NFette. If you guys could start sharing your screen, we can get started.
Okay, great. I'm going to share my screen.
NFette is
We did lose the video there, or the audio.
Yeah, the audio cut out.
So maybe that mute doesn't work.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll start again.
NFette is an interest-earning AMM factory which takes ERC-721 tokens and mints new ERC-20 share tokens that can be sold to buyers. So for our hack, we are making it as easy as possible to turn future creative work into interest-bearing NFT markets so creators can gain funding with added interest. Here is a demo of how creating an NFette factory AMM contract address will work. If the creator has not yet made an NFT for their future piece, they can here. Then this gets carried to where the creator can set the initial price and collateral type they wish to accept for their market. Then they can choose the pricing structure with 3 different variants in the curve. Next, they can choose their risk strategy for earning interest. The collateral collected from selling the shares will be mirrored as deposits into Aave lending pools, earning interest by leveraging the Aave protocol's A-token contracts. Lastly, the contract address is created, ready to be used for selling the ERC-20 share tokens. When the creator has their new market contract address, they can start accepting collateral from their shareholders. In this kind of market, a buyer will be able to interact freely, buying and withdrawing from the NFT market contract anytime the market is open. In the end, which we have not yet built as part of our hack, the creator will be able to close the market with a flick of a switch, causing the NFT market contract to distribute the ERC20 share tokens to all 100 shareholders, trigger redemption of the collateral from the lending pool, and allow the creator to withdraw the collateral with interest as funding for their work. In this way, both creators and buyers benefit from staying in the market while it is open and waiting for the market to come to a natural close once all the share tokens are sold. This tool will be suited for any reputable creator who has willing shareholders waiting for their next project piece to drop. If the creator has a limited edition work or work that is collectible, then offering willing buyers shares to co-own before it is complete will entice both parties to pre-fund the work and follow through with creating it. The example shown here in our factory tool is just one application of this idea. Perhaps it could be used as an integration on Audius's platform for recording artists to fund their albums. NFette could also be adapted to work as a Kickstarter, even going as far as making intellectual property for the creative work, the NFT itself. NFette, allowing creators to gain upfront funding for their next creation before they make it.
Okay, cool. That's the end of our video. And yeah, just a quick intro. This is a little bit of an incomplete hack. We didn't 100% finish everything we wanted to, but we would be glad to get your feedback and your constructive criticism, and our teammates can answer any of your questions.
Right, yeah, Q&A will now begin.
Yeah, great job. It was a really well done presentation. Very clear, and it's a very cool product idea as well. One quick question I had is the risk settings that you showed. You know, there was a low risk and medium risk. I guess I'm curious how you picked those, and if you have any thoughts on how that might work in the future and how important it is for your users to understand the risk that they're being exposed to.
Yes, I can answer that question with a quick answer. We didn't fully explore all the possibilities of risk that we wanted to, and that is one of our future improvements, that we want to add different risk strategies of different interests. Like, for instance, you know, there's some high risk pools from Yearn, there's some low risk pools from Pool Together, but essentially we start off with Aave, just lending pools, because it's low risks to medium risk kind of interest. And yeah, if anyone else from the team wants to answer that question as well.
Yeah, hi, Gerard here. So future integration, we would like to, ideally, there would be some sort of API call to Aave, and we would choose of 3 different options, like a low risk, medium risk, and a high risk pool. And that would sort of pre-populate the NFette page with options.
You know what would be interesting, just off the top of my head, to have like a sliding bar where you could essentially increase it and then maybe pull from other protocols as well. So you can kind of go from very low and then increase, like a sliding, yeah, like a slider. I think that would be very good UX wise and very simple. And maybe you could have small explanations underneath to kind of give people a sense of what that might mean. But yeah, great work. This is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's neat. Like it's so cool that this is what a hackathon project looks like now.
I know.
Like all the cool building pieces and all the parts and all the like nomenclature that comes together to make what you guys are calling an incomplete hack. This is a pretty awesome project. I think getting that redemption piece in is pretty important, but I like the trick. I'm assuming you use the trick where they're buying these NFTs in a very discrete one-off manner, and that helps a lot with the curve, so you don't have to do a bunch of tricky calculus. But I would say double props on you know, kind of using that hack for it's kind of a cheat code in Ethereum right now. You can do discrete buys of NFTs, and you can do them on a curve without having to do a bunch of complicated calculus.
And also, just quickly before we run out of time, you guys should have a chat to the team at Loft Radio. I know they're doing some work on Loft Radio, where it started off as a passion project, and now I think the team wants to expand it quite a bit. So yeah, get in touch with them. I think it's Loft Radio and then _ on Twitter. They're a great team. Have a little chat to them. You never know. That might be an interesting convergence.
That's a great point. Like next steps here, like find a couple of these artists and get them on,
Yes.
on the platform, and you'll just, yeah, that's a great way to get traction.
100%.
Real quick, any thoughts on when a creator might decide to close the market? You know, like at what point, what would be the catalyst for that? What's an example?
We did write the contract that it only mints 100 ERC20s, so almost like 100% share. So we do kind of treat these buyers as shareholders. So that would be one of the places to close it. But we also had an idea of a staged closing as well. So if they get to 20% of their shareholders or 40% of their shareholders, we would think about doing a staged closing.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Awesome.
All right. That about wraps up Q&A. Thank you for your time.
Great project, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right. So the next team, it'll be astralDAO. If you guys could start sharing your screen, that would be nice.
The Astro Protocol, the first decentralized protocol to bring trusted geospatial data and analytics to Web3 applications. The problems that we're trying to solve include the lack of transparency between spatial data providers and end users. Secondly, very few Web3 apps truly make an impact in the real world. And thirdly, various spatial-enabled fields like spatial finance cannot move forward unless there's a proven way to ensure the validity of geospatial data. In order to solve this, we create the Astro Protocol, a Web3 spatial data standard. We capture data through our data capture layer and store it on the distributed storage layers such as IPFS or Filecoin. Then we perform some type of analytics on this data and feed it into the smart contracts through an oracle. This data and insights that we gain can then be used in smart contract logic to create sustainable or any types of dApps that rely on spatial data. One of the things we created was a GeoDid. It's a DID document that is based off of the spatiotemporal asset catalogs. These are a list of Web2 specifications for spatial data. By creating the GeoDid, we're creating a new primitive for representing spatial data assets in Web3. We also developed the smart contract NFT verifiable data registries that utilize the graph. Basically, we can track and register these GeoDids through NFTs on the blockchain, and we can query them through the graph. So we're representing the GeoDid as an NFT on the blockchain network, essentially. We also created an interactive UX-focused dApp that has a frictionless Web3 experience and wallet integration. So I want to show you guys the application that we built. Here is the GeoLocker. This is the front-end application. I'm going to connect our wallet with MetaMask, and then I'm going to drop a stack item into this area. This is the stack item that we're loading. It's basically an extended GeoJSON. And then we're going to register the Geo NFT and confirm the transactions. Keep in mind that this is happening on the Ropsten network, so it might take a while. But in the background, basically, we drop this stack item in, and it's basically converting the stack item into a GeoDid document. It's going to then take this GeoDid document and also mint an NFT. And while it's minting the NFT, it's going to bind it to the user's account and or wallet, essentially. And this way, the user can represent the GeoDid document as an NFT on the blockchain network. They can sell this NFT, they can trade the NFT, they can do multiple things. Also, the NFT will hold certain metadata within it that we can use to further the application and leverage other types of possibilities. So any second now, it should confirm. So the transaction is confirmed now, and you can see that the Geo NFT successfully registered. So now the user has the NFT in their wallet, and they also have the Geodid registered to their name, or it's binding to their NFT essentially. And so in a summary, we created the Geodid document. We also created this NFT that binds to it, and we also created a dApp front end that allows producers of spatial data to register and query their asset catalogs in a seamless Web3-like manner. Our team is well suited for this because we have some of the teammates have geospatial background, and some of us have a lot of Web3 background. And we were asking for a $50,000 for our pre-seed round, and we want this money to finish the protocol implementation and also onboard our first spatial dApps essentially. And we also need the money to further our research and development for the geodids, and also converting this Web2 stack item into more of a Web3 thing that works with distributed file storages. And feel free to reach out to us at our website or fund us at our Gitcoin grants. Thank you.
All right, Q&A will now begin.
It's funny with projects like this, we always find it when it's such a big project and there's so many pieces that have to come together to make it work. You find that as you set off on this ambitious journey, there's holes in infrastructure and standards and tooling. And it seems like kind of the Geodid was one of those things where you kind of realized going into it like, oh shoot, we don't have this standard here. We need to implement that also. So it's cool. I'd like to kind of ask a question back to you guys of like other missing holes or things that you guys found that you wish was there before you like, if you could talk to yourself 3 weeks ago, what would be the tool you would give you to help maybe complete this a little better even?
Yeah, that's a great question. At every single kind of layer in that protocol we were talking about, we find there's a lot of work to be done. So data capture, you have satellites orbiting the Earth, taking pictures of the Earth. That's all kind of designed and developed over the last decades, not necessarily ready for Web3. So we would love to have secure enclaves on the satellite, so it would encrypt the data so that could be sort of owned by the people who put the satellite into orbit from end to end. Data storage, we don't see loads of cloud native geospatial processing capabilities in IPFS yet. Things like being able to do spatial queries, like I just want to look up this little segment of satellite imagery, and all the way into the smart contracts where you have some really early stage location-based decentralized applications that are starting to come out. The foam token curated registry, you see some like Decentraland, you see some pretty rudimentary ways of representing spatial data, but it's pretty computationally intensive, and it's just these kind of two worlds that don't necessarily fit well together on the surface. So yeah, at every layer, we saw some things that we wish we'd seen. I think probably the biggest one is the cloud native geospatial on IPFS, because we're trying to apply analytics on the fly to satellite images so we can assess whether an area was flooded, or if there's more forest grown there, or if a solar array has been installed. That's all really useful to use in a smart contract, but it's tough to get that insights reliably into the contract.
That's interesting that it's that stuff and not, it's interesting. I call them Web 2 problems, I guess, because I'm so ingrained in Web 3, but it's interesting that it's kind of a non-Web 3 problem, or I guess storage in IPF is kind of a Web 3 problem, but that wasn't what I was expecting to hear. And you kind of glazed over the Oracle too, which to me is the scariest part.
Which is, yeah, no, to be fair, I mean, yeah. And I guess like a lot of those capabilities I was just talking about, they exist in Web 2, but if we have $100 million insurance contract riding on satellite images, we need to have like, and the whole process is automated. We're not really willing to like accept an insurance, you got to have those integrity and quality guarantees. So yeah, we're definitely thinking distant future in a lot of ways on this, but also thinking really hard about how it can be useful today. And that's really kind of what we're focusing our energy on at this point.
That's tough.
Yeah.
So a quick question I had is, I'm at least vaguely aware of like a number of projects working on geospatial data in the space. I'm curious. It seems my understanding from the presentation is you're building a lot of the stack out yourself. And I guess to Austin's point, he's sort of asking about what unknown or known unknowns are there. I'm curious, like, have you looked at others in the space? Is there stuff you considered building on top of and decided against?
So we have looked around the space. We haven't found too many who are really doing what we're trying to do. Things that come to mind, the IBISA network, which is inclusive blockchain insurance using space assets. They provide insurance for kind of sort of bottom billion farmers. And they have not really, they've got a dashboard where users can go on and analyze satellite imagery to see if crops are growing, and if they're not, they pay off the farmers. But they haven't quite figured out how to automate that process of getting satellite imagery into smart contracts.
It's been a goal since the white paper.
right, exactly. And I completely understand they're just like, this is so hard. Let's just get to actually providing services for these people. I'm actually a watcher with IBISA, so I've been following their journey for a while, and the watcher is the kind of analyst who goes on their dashboard and then submits a vote, essentially attesting whether or not. We want to get to the point where you can reliably consume satellite imagery analytics in smart contracts. Likewise, Foam Protocol, they're doing the token curated registry, but they're also doing dynamic proof of location, which is to replace GPS, right? To give localization services to phones that connect to their network. We would take those coordinates and use them in our geodids. So as we see it, we actually are complementing most of the projects we see in the space. We were talking to one the other day called GeoWeb that was also kind of building this like AR overlay over the real world.
Here, that will be up for the Q&A.
Right. Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, I'm going to drop a quick link in the chat for you. There's a really cool project that UNICEF and ITU are working on. I don't know if Christina yesterday from UNICEF mentioned it, but I'm going to link it, which might be interesting for you guys to look at.
Thanks, Simona. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Great work.
All right, so for our next team, I'll be introducing Eero. If you guys can start sharing your screen.
Okay, I'm going to share screen.
There isn't any audio at the moment. You could try sharing with the, like after clicking the bottom left button.
Okay. Front and backend.
All right, we can hear it.
So I'm going to start. Hi, we are Team Iroiro. This is built for ETHOnline 2020. The project in this hackathon was implemented by 2 people. My name is Toshiaki Takase, and I worked on frontend. And other is Tsukasa Noguchi. He worked on smart contract and backend. So we built a platform to support the fair launch of tokens. These tokens serve as a connection between creators and fans. For creators, they can easily to issue and distribute tokens. And for fans, they can get tokens directly from the creators. It uses Solidity, the graph, Chainlink, and Odious. First, the creators can set up the details and issue tokens. The token data is synced with the graph and used on the frontend. Creators who are using Odious to distribute music can get a list of their followers and distribute tokens. When a fan wants to withdraw tokens, the acceptance or rejection is accomplished by checking the list of followers stored on IPFS via Chainlink. So let's jump into the demo.
Hi, I'm Tsukasa Noguchi. Let's start an application demo. This is a top page of application for both creators and fans. First, we are going to create a token as a creator. In this page, we can input our own token with basic and additional information. And click on Create Token. We can see new ETHOnline token on Creator dashboard. Tokens information is fetched using subgraph for this page and other pages. We can withdraw a vesting token as time goes on, change staking status, and distribute token with audience. Okay, let's go to audience setting page. In this page, we can decide how many tokens should be distributed for audience users who is a followers of creator. Now let's distribute 10% of token. Clicking on transfer tokens sends a token to contract which actually distributes. And click on start to enable user to withdraw tokens. Now let's turn into fan operations. And this is an audience page. This page shows audience user information and withdrawal form. Please note that a transactions in this page is processed with audience wallet instead of MetaMask. First, input a contract address which user wants to withdraw a token. And click on Request. After requesting token, click the check button to check that the user can withdraw or not. And if user can do it, withdraw button is appeared. Click withdraw button, and then token is transferred to user's audience wallet. This is a short demonstration of application. Thank you.
Nice.
All right, yeah, Q&A will start.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Quick question. Can I import an existing token? So let's say
only creator can create a new own token, and they cannot import existing token.
Okay, so I'd have to create it within your platform. I can't just bring my existing one if I'm an artist in. Okay.
Yeah, I love how all the integrations you guys use to put this together. I think that's super cool. And I think it's also interesting you're using audience followers as sort of a distribution mechanism. Yeah, I guess I'm curious, you know, if you thought at all about beyond followers, like what else could you do from there in terms of you know, offering creators more options to reward their fans?
Other than audience?
Yeah. What else did you consider?
Yeah. We can introduce like Twitter or Patreon, and yeah, anything which provides our API. We can use fetch followers using Chainlink. Yeah, if it has.
So just to make sure I have the right mental model of what happens here is basically a creator can come here and mint an ERC20 and kind of customize the distribution. And with those customization settings, then other people can log in with Audius and prove that they're followers, or is it the other way around? The creator logs in with their Audius and proves. How does the Audius integration work? Just to clear it up in my head.
creator can log in with audience, then they can set the audience followers list to the IPFS. Then after that, the follower of the followers can withdraw the token from that list.
Cool. Got it. Okay. I like the accessibility here. This is a really neat thing to be able to take a Web3 tool and make it something that someone can just jump in and use. I think we're going to see an explosion of tools like that. And then, you know, the second order effects of those things on our ecosystem and a lot of other ecosystems. So good job on this one. This is a fun project. Hopefully you get people in there clicking and deploying tokens, right? That's what we want to see.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great work, guys.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's super cool. And we've just started to scratch the surface of what these tokens would look like, or what the interactions between creators and their audience will look like once the tokens are distributed. So the tool is step one. And then the next step is figuring out what the interactions that people want actually are and how to, extend the tool to accommodate that. Which I guess since we have 30 seconds, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you guys have any idea as to what kind of behavior you expect from creators and their audience once the token is distributed?
Sorry again.
Like what do you think these creators and their fans will do once they have tokens from using your tool?
I want to communicate the creators and fan each other. So if the creator sends to their fans their token, it is not sending money. It's just a communication tool. So I want to be creators and fan. They transfer their own token to each other.
Mm. Cool.
That's everything for Q&A. Thank you for
your time. Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
All right, so the next team is Tonic. If you guys could start sharing your screen, we can get started.
Despite Ethereum's success, mass adoption is yet to come. Our main issues are unintuitive UX and high transactional costs. We need a killer app for this. Here enters Tonic. Tonic is a decentralized bank account. It offers fast payments, savings, and investments. The account is denominated in dollars and completely hides Ethereum to the user. The UX is designed to be like that of a Web2 challenger bank. To be clear, there is not a single interaction of the user with the blockchain. As a matter of fact, the user does not own any Ether. Everything is paid in dollars. To achieve a seamless experience, we have used all tools at our disposal. Thanks to Porties, users can revert to a well-known credentials flow, using email and password. We use USDC as base currency, thanks to its support for native meta transactions and ease of on and off ramp. Each layer 1 interaction is intermediated by the Biconomy Relayer network. For cheap and fast transfers, we opted for ZK Sync as it seems the best suited for this task. Unfortunately, ZK Sync does not support metadata for transactions or recipients. So here it comes textiled. With ThreadDB, where we store metadata on behalf of the user, we also implemented decentralized notifications for incoming transactions using the Mailbox API. For the saving accounts, we use a centralized vault which lends funds onto the Hava money market. For the investment part, the first product is a Bitcoin dollar cost averaging, where the user can choose how much to invest every month or week. These funds come out of the collective vault and purchase tokenized Bitcoin, using 1inch for best execution. So, let's see Tonic in action now. We first log in Porties using a previously created account. We recommend setting Tonic as a trusted app. By doing so, requests are automated. The first screen is the balance screen. We top up the current account. In mainnet, we would top up using a card or a bank transfer. Now we can deposit into the savings account. This is also a L1 meta transaction. Now we can also deposit onto the FastPay account. This is another L1 meta transaction. Let's move into the investment screen. Our first product is a simple DCA for Bitcoin. I select amount and purchase period and off we go. This is our last L1 meta transaction. Let's do something a little different now. By opening the profile screen, we can see our address. Below it, we can claim a unique Tonic tag which allows an easier payment experience. I guess we gotta choose Alice. We can now see the fast pay experience. Here we show both sender and recipient screens. Firstly, we select the amount, then the recipient. In this case, we know the Tonic tag. You would have guessed right, it's Bob. Finally, we send. This is a layer 2 transaction. Once the transaction is accepted by ZK Sync, Bob receives a notification for his payment. Let's look at the transactions list to ascertain we got our cash. Sweet, the transaction is there, metadata included. It seems Alice forgot something. With Tonic, you can also send requests for payments. For the time being, it's just a notification, but we will make it more user-friendly. This ends our demo. I hope you all enjoyed it. There is a demo version deployed in Robson. The app is still very rough, but this could be a game changer.
It kind of goes on to the same thing I was saying earlier about how good these hackathon projects are getting, because the underlying technology and the building blocks are getting so much easier. This is not something that's new, right? Like, we've always wanted a great UX wallet. We've always wanted something that has instant onboarding and feels like a normal thing and people get the mental model. But as new building blocks come in and as new L2 solutions come out, this idea gets a little bit more advanced and a little bit more closer to reality each time. So just good job on thinking about the user first and focusing on making basically Aave as a backend into a wallet for a user with instant onboarding. So just props on this. Good job.
Thanks a lot, Austin. Yes, the plan was to do something for my mom, something my mom can use without much knowledge of how Ethereum works. And I was surprised that there isn't anything like that out yet. I mean, there are some great wallets, but still you need fairly comprehensive understanding of what's out there and what's gas, and even like swapping tokens and stuff like that. This is like a way to offer a curated window into DeFi, into all the Ethereum ecosystem that can then be easily understood by people at the moment that are not in the ecosystem. Yeah, so, and
probably
hopefully
the closest thing I know of is Argent. I think the Argent wallet is probably the closest to this experience, but there's still a lot of mainnet like L1 stuff, and you kind of glazed over those too, right? Here's an L1, here's an L1, now we're in L2, but it's like we had to skip some stuff there.
Yeah. And with meta transactions now, you can abstract the L1. And the other hope is that with the right business model, you can subsidize also the gas. And with the AP 15, 59, things probably going to also get better there. But yeah, you can subsidize gas and make things work for free, basically. Yeah.
So are you guys going to continue expanding on this? And
well, I'm the only one at the moment.
Oh, okay. Amazing.
Yes.
Project with all of these things. Awesome.
Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge that I gave myself. Like, say, like 10 days. Let's see what if I can do something usable. I mean, obviously there are massive security holes that still need to be audited and fixed. But yeah, the idea is like, can we build with the current state of Ethereum a Monzo or like a Revolut in 10 days, one person, and then can we keep it running? And what's the OPEX saving out of that? Because like Monzo, last time I checked, it was 1,500 people. So yeah, that's the idea. It's like we can now build these things with Ethereum, and I think that was somehow also part of the promise. I mean, DeFi lays the foundation of all this. What you can do with money market, with with derivatives and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we need to bubble this up to the final user.
Yeah, great job identifying all the existing pieces in the stack and sort of putting them together in a useful way. I'm curious, given more time, is there anything else you would have done to make the product more complete or desirable?
Yeah, I mean, definitely there is things around. I mean, Partis is great, and I'm also talking to them. I mean, there are things around like MFA and stuff to increase security, and also the UX of saving the private keys and stuff like that. That also Argent has done quite like a good job there with social recovery, but definitely yes. And then expanding the offering, things like pull together with a nice UI on top could be quite a good drive for acquisition. And then the other big thing is like customer acquisition for me. And we've seen interesting way of distributing, and Jesse, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but we've seen interesting ways of distributing apps and to acquire customer. And although liquidity mining has gone a bit, it's ending badly somehow, but I think that there is some sort of initial very nice dynamic there. And my dream is to have users that become owners. That's the dream. So like someone, like a bit like Uniswap, like someone uses the platform and is also an owner of the platform in a tokenized way. So those are the areas.
That's awesome.
All the time we have for Q&A. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Yeah, great job.
Congratulations. Well
Thank
done.
you. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Introducing the next team is Vega Markets Explorer. If you guys could start sharing your screen.
So what I'm going to present to you now is my Vega Markets Explorer, which is pulling information from the Vega decentralized derivatives network and presenting it in a way that's useful to traders. So we present the information in 4 different categories: the 25 largest open positions, the 25 most profitable traders, the 25 worst traders, and clusters of liquidations. So on this page, you can see the positions of all of the 25 largest traders. You can see the way that they're trading, long or short, the amount that they're trading, the entry price, and how much money they've made. You can click into a trader. And when you click into the party view, you will be able to see detail about all of the positions and orders that they are executing in the market. You can also see the open volume as it changes with time, their realized profit and loss, and their unrealized profit and loss. If we jump back to the home page, we can drill into the same view for the 25 most profitable traders and the 25 worst traders on the network. We can also flick between different markets. So here we can look at GBP USD, and we can see how this sentiment graph at the top changes. And what this graph is showing us is the sentiment in the market for the specific category that you've selected. So on this page, we can see that the losing traders on GBP USD are massively net short by 40 million contracts to what looks like about 1 million contracts here. And if we flick to look at the winning traders on GBP USD, what's interesting is we'll see they're doing almost exactly the opposite. So you can see that this is giving a really interesting insight into markets that is currently not available when the markets are made up of centralized exchanges, and the centralized exchanges keep this information private and essentially keep it to themselves. And lastly, the final view shows the liquidation prices or the liquidation clusters in the market. And this looks a lot like a limit order book, but it's actually not. This is showing exactly the opposite of a limit order book. We'll look at FUSD because it's interesting, as this is a more active market on the network. And what this is showing is all of the prices at which essentially stop losses or liquidations for traders are clustering. And this gives us a view of the market that we currently can't see anywhere right now, and only centralized exchanges know about. And that is a view of where the market is likely to move a lot if it trades at those prices, because the participants on the network become under collateralized. And so that's everything that I had to show today. I hope that you enjoyed it, and you can see how this Explorer gives some really interesting insights into markets that we currently don't get to see whilst the market is made up of lots of centralized operators.
Awesome.
That liquidation
That's
graph as a primitive is neat, right? Just coming up with that is a cool thing that you wouldn't have even discovered, and now you see that like as the price moves, this is what's going to happen. And like you said,
It's
the
like the
clustering.
parting of the sea. It's just like literally a boom. Love it.
Yeah, I kind of need to overlay it with a limit order book so you can see how the two interact with each other. But I ran out of time, so.
It's so funny just when you have that data, you know, now that it's on a decentralized network in public, and it's exposed to us, what can we learn from it? And this is neat how you've parsed through it and kind of just tried to learn what you could learn. I like it.
I'm curious, actually, what did you learn by sort of implementing this? Like, what insights do you think are most interesting from looking at the data through your own visualizations?
Yeah, so this was like running on a test net, right? Where against the test net where the bots themselves are kind of stupid. But what I was really surprised by was the view that I showed in the video where the GBP USD longs and shorts, winners and losers were almost exactly oppositely positioned. And so you could see that the money that's changing hands, or virtual money that's changing hands between the parties that are trading on the network, is literally going from the biggest winners to the biggest losers, from the biggest losers to the biggest winners. I found that quite interesting. I was also surprised when I drew the liquidation graph by like how much volume was clustering near the mark price. I found that quite interesting that although it's a test net, you know, the parties trading on the network were therefore quite under collateralized. That was quite interesting as well. Yeah.
So is Vega only on a test net, or like why test net? Why not?
Yeah. So
this is just
they're running only
right?
on the test net right now.
Okay.
So I think the main net's like probably six months
Soon.
or so away.
Soon
maybe.
TM.
Yeah.
Neat.
But it was interesting nonetheless to explore you know, ways of like getting this data and processing.
Where'd you find yourself spinning your wheels the most here? Was it getting the data? Was it just interfacing with the graphs? Like, what was your what? I used this question earlier, but if you had to go back in time and kind of like give yourself some information or some extra tooling, what would help you to do this again?
Yeah, I think like pre-processing the data into a format that was useful to generate like interesting visualizations. Like it's quite data intensive. You know, it's like a 1 second block time on the network. So there's a lot of information to pass through to generate graphs that are actually useful. There's a whole bunch of network stuff in there that's not really useful for traders. And so that's why I kind of pitched it as like an alternative block explorer, where it's just pulling out the useful pieces of information to people who are actually trading on the network that you wouldn't normally see on the user interface to an exchange. But that actually is there like deep in the network, because usually this is kind of, it still exists on a centralized exchange, but they don't make it public for some of the reasons that I mentioned. Whereas on a pseudonymous decentralized network, you know, it's unavoidable, but that levels the playing field as well. So yeah, pulling that stuff out was kind of a really interesting thing, and finding the useful pieces to show.
Where do you see it evolving? Where do you want to take it? Do you see things like, following the top ones, like functionality or anything like that?
Yeah, I thought a bit about it. It's like it could, yeah, you could build like customizable views that are interesting for you. Like maybe you have a way for people to sign up. Yeah, make it a bit more like social. But then there's also the other side of things where like just to get the plugin in place to build the visualizations, you have to be connected to the nodes. And as the network grows, you know, that ends up becoming like an engineering challenge in of itself. And you look at like the Bitcoin block explorers and the Ethereum projects like Infura and stuff that have had to do that, and then they turn this into like a SaaS product as well. So like, there's possibly an angle there. So a few different ideas.
That's the side quest I'd like to see, is basically go on a tangent and take that liquidation histogram and apply it to Uniswap, and apply it to some other, not Uniswap, but apply it to some other primitives on mainnet Ethereum right now, and see if you see what you see, right? You don't know what you don't know until you get there.
Exactly, yeah. It's like some of these posts that we've seen online about like the Ethereum dark forest, and it's like someone's looked at the real low level stuff, but nobody's pulled it out and made it visually like available to everybody.
All right, I'm gonna have to interrupt. That's all the time we have for Q&A.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome work. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, so the next team is Crypto Pear. Start sharing your screen.
Actually, there's a change. Crypto Pair will be rescheduled. The next team will be BlockChainARPG.
Hello.
Whoops.
Trying to
Hello?
there we are.
Oh, there we go. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and share a window. Really quick, when we were rendering this, we had some issues. Would it be okay if I show my slides separately from the video? So I have my slides kind of separately from the video. It'd be okay if I just like 1 minute just fly through this and then just goes to the video, if that's all right?
Sure thing, yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We just had some issues. All right. So BlockChainARPG is an interest-bearing esports video game. Basically, the game, I'll explain it in the video too, works in a like kind of like a zombie survival game where you're by yourself in this arena with a bunch of waves coming at you. And the way the blockchain integrates into this is that we have a liquidity pool. So we have we are using Aave to deposit staked entries to a liquidity pool, which gains interest. And we're using the Chainlink VRF for random number generation, which dictates whether or not the player gets the special item at the end of the level. So we use Biconomy, USD Coin, Chainlink, Matic, Unity for creating the game, and Audius for royalty-free music. Future plans, we just have some future plans to develop more levels, make it more of a procedurally generated, have multiplayer in there, improve some key features, of course, polish it up, implement new classes, customization, and work on the blockchain integration part to make it less expensive for us and make it less expensive for the user and just make things a lot smoother in general. So I'm just going to go ahead and show the video.
Can't hear anything.
You can't hear it?
No, I was wondering what that royalty-free music is from Audius.
Yes.
Oh, snap. Let me, 1 second. Oh.
Just remember to hit that box when you.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. Here you go. Everybody, this is Alfred Checker, the lead programmer on the blockchain action role-playing game project. This project is made in Unity and is basically a survival game where you are dropped into this area here and you have to survive an onslaught of enemies that show up in waves. So right now we're at wave 1, and you know, there aren't a lot of enemies, but they will start walking towards the player and we have to kill them. So we have melee attacks. We have some range attacks that we can use. We just use them close range. And we killed an enemy here and he drops an item. So we pick up the item here. We got a long staff that's going to increase our magic damage. And that green object there was a health upgrade too. So we're going to pick that up here. Get some health and mana upgrades. So the point is to survive as long as you can in these waves, and kill the enemies to get the items that they drop. And the longer you survive, you'll get to certain milestones. And at wave 5, the Chainlink API is used to generate a verifiable token, a verifiable random token that is an NFT token. And that is possible to be acquired by a player coming into wave 5. At wave 3, we actually have this power up that spawns here, so we're going to go ahead and pick that up. We're going to try and go around these enemies. Try and survive here until wave 5 so we can see if we get the legendary drop for the NFT or if we don't. That's completely based on chance, so we're gonna go ahead
and go into the portal that was up here that will take us to the room that will spawn the object. And it's wave 5. We're gonna go ahead and pick up these power-ups. We just gained some health and mana. We're gonna go into this room here. Unfortunately, it looks like we just got a random green item and not a which was just chainmail and not the legendary NFT. But yeah, that's the game. And if I was lucky, I would have gotten that legendary in the NFT drop through the chainlink randomization. Alright, yeah, that last part is just a little extra. I also just quickly want to show a couple of screenshots for some updated UI that we had. So this is the menu that we updated. I like updated it like a day after I did the video, so my apologies for not being in the video. And this is that the character sheet and the inventory UI. And this is like a leaderboard at the end, just to show like people's high scores, and just like, you know, when you die, it shows up and then you can restart the game. So I just wanted to quickly show that too. But yeah. Yeah, that's
It's
my
such a fun
presentation.
place to be
Very
experimenting. Like just being able to play around with, let's take Unity and bring it in an interest-bearing game, and it's storing in Aave. Like I don't completely understand all of it. Again, though, I mean, I remember
This is
like,
my first blockchain hackathon. Yeah, sorry for interrupting.
Right,
yeah.
right. You're a game builder coming in and playing with
Right.
blockchain. And it's cool that we're finally getting to the point where we have these primitives available for you to plug into. It was like a year and a half ago we started noticing like hackathon projects started being more about composing tools, and now it's just like I am so blown away with how great all these tools are. Like even the Chainlink VRF came out like a week ago, didn't it, or something like that? And you're using it here. That's cool.
Something
awesome.
else too. Yeah, we didn't know we could update the video when we uploaded it on Thursday. That's why there's a bit of stuff incomplete in it, like the slides and the UUI. We're actually gonna upload a new one to the Discord later with the MetaMask integration also shown in the video, if that's okay with you guys. We just didn't know we could re-upload the video, so my apologies for that.
Sure. Cool. It's a good project. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I mean, obviously it would take a long time to get to that like AAA level game, right? It's really hard to get there.
Especially with two people, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes, but this is a fun experiment.
I'm curious, how did you guys just as given this is your first hackathon, like how did you stumble on Aave and decide to like work that into the gameplay? What was the
we have a colleague in our lab who's very much into like blockchain and has entered these hackathons before, so we kind of took some advice from him, like kind of as an unofficial third member for most of this time, you know, since me and my partner Zach are new. So we kind of just you know, we kind of just like talked to him for like some advice, like, hey, what should we use, what kind of links can you share with us that could help us out? And he was just kind of pointing us to the right direction. We kind of figured things out from there, you know, giving us some advice. But yeah. So yeah, he's just been helping us out on the blockchain part. Me and Zach worked on the game part mostly and integrated all of that stuff into it. But yeah, we'll definitely show the video later with all that stuff in it. Yeah, and I appreciate all the feedback. We were super excited to enter this as our first like big blockchain hackathon, and we're very excited to have this opportunity to present to all of you.
Great. Yeah,
Can you tell us any more about tools other than utility or other than the Unity? Unity I know of, but what other tools did you use like within the Web3? Like how do you compile your smart contracts? How do you deploy them? That kind of stuff.
We use Remix, Open Zeppelin. So yeah, those are some of the tools that we used. Yeah, we had them integrated through like WebGL, and that's all we kind of like know about right now. We don't really know any other tools to use. Those are just the ones that we were told to use. Sure. Like, hey, these will work fine for you, and we're like, all right, excellent, just use those. We are trying to get to know some other tools like Truffle, but yeah, these are the ones that we kind of had time to work on. Yeah.
Awesome. Good first project, guys. Yeah, I want to see you at the next hackathon and then the hackathon after that.
Hopefully we'll
participating in the Ethereum space.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate all the feedback. Thank you, Austin.
So yeah, I'll be introducing the next team. Next team is Optimistic Roll. If you guys could start sharing your screen.
Cool. Yeah, it's Optimistic Roll in, but okay, sure.
Oh, roll in.
Don't worry about it. I won't take it personally. Share computer sound. Here we go. Hi, my name is Mike, and this is Optimistic Roll-ins, gaming, NFTs, and randomness on the cheap. So the model here is if on-chain computation and storage is too expensive, then just don't do it. And what this means for us is that we trust users to be honest about their own state transitions and only use on-chain logic to prove they lied. And this is effective for single-player game components, expensive logical proofs, or even making some interesting trade-offs between call data, compute, and storage costs. So the difference between roll-ups that we're familiar with and roll-ins is that roll-ins are layer agnostic, so there's no up just into the same chain. Users are their own aggregators. The only caveat here is that you can only optimistically transition with pure functions, so you can't touch world state while you're doing optimistic transactions. One interesting thing, though, is that you can do a whole bunch of offline state transitions, like, for example, playing a single-player game, and propose all of your state transitions in one function onto the mainnet. So roll-ins and roll-ups are not mutually exclusive, so you can actually have a roll-in on a roll-up, which we'll see later. And the basis behind this is appendable Merkle trees. So you can append to a Merkle tree so long as you have the proof of the very last element. And this makes it effective to push elements onto an array that really only takes up one storage slot. So how this works for optimistic roll-in account state is that the account state is made up of the hash of three things. The last time you've transitioned optimistically, which helps us lock someone in for a certain amount of time before they can exit. The current state for that user for their underlying thing, for example, a game or whatnot, and the call data root. And the call data root is a Merkle tree of all of the call datas that they would have sent to the pure transition functions. So those call datas contain not only the starting state, but as well as the proposed final state for that transition. So everybody's just proposing the states they want to go to with the call data, but not actually computing it. So what if someone lies? What if someone proposes a state that is not possible with that call data? Well, it's very simple. Then you just have to use that call data to call the underlying function and show that it results in a different state transition than what was proposed. And there's enough information in every single transaction in optimistic roll-ins to not only detect fraud, but also build the fraud proof. So anybody can be a watchtower and hold somebody accountable, and there's no need to do expensive indexing of historical transactions. And also rolling back is relatively easy. So let's get an example of what this looks like here. So we're running this on Matic. So this is the example of a roll-in on a layer 2. So we have one transaction that we've made, this pure state transition, which is effectively just hashing the state hundreds of times. And this normally costs 300,000 gas. But Alice is able to perform this optimistically for way cheaper. And Bob is able to just verify off-chain that is valid. And she can do this over and over again. She can even create a transaction for 300,000 gas, but that is 100 state transitions. And Bob's able to verify that immediately as well. Eventually, she can even try to lie about a state transition, and then Bob can not only detect that it's fraudulent, but eventually, even after she builds on her fraudulent state several times, Bob can lock her account, update his fraud proof locally, propose the fraud proof, collect his reward, and force Alice to roll back to before she committed that fraud. So I had also mentioned before about gaming and NFTs. So we can actually use optimistic roll-ins with verifiable delay functions in order to get some randomness that we otherwise couldn't get for rather cheap. So in this case here, Alice is going to purchase 5 packs of cards. And when she does this, she's going to get a seed, which is the block hash. But in order to compute what the actual values for those packs are going to be, she has to do a verifiable delay function and compute a bunch of beacons that she'll eventually propose to the chain. And normally these are relatively expensive, but still feasible to compute on chain. But because we're doing this optimistically, she's able to just do this for relatively cheap. So in one transaction, she's able to not only unpack her card and update her array with 10 new cards, but for relatively cheap. And she can even unpack 4 packs of cards in 28 seconds that it takes to compute it off chain, and then go ahead and optimistically propose that, update her hand with 40 cards, and everybody's able to know that she did that verifiably, but for incredibly cheap without touching storage. So yeah, that's optimistic roll-ins, and thanks for listening.
This is such a cool project. Being able to build an MVP that kind of stands on the shoulders of, hey, call data is cheap and we can have fraud proofs. Let's do single player sort of, and let's just have you put your own information into the call data and then have other individuals basically activate that fraud proof. Just like I love building MVPs of these kind of things and getting them out there and see how they work. I've already given you this feedback millions of times, but you obviously need to be more active with the really heady dudes. Like I don't understand the game theory here. There's probably like some great attacks that I don't even know. Like you need Vitalik's advice on where to go with this. So my one piece of advice is go to smarter people than me and get more advice.
Well, this builds on the idea of optimism, which is the same thing as optimistic rollup. So kind of the same attack vectors exist. So I have a lot of existing knowledge to work with, but not only for single player games, right? So even, for example, applied zero knowledge proofs for the minimal anti-corruption infrastructure. So at one point, there's a zero knowledge proof that has to happen in batch where the prover has to accumulate in zero knowledge all of the votes. And that's relatively expensive because ZKPs are expensive on chain for computation. And they could just do that optimistically and save a bunch of gas this way.
Cool. I think I need to hook you up with the Dark Forest team too. Didn't we talk at one point about? I have you on Telegram. I'll make that connection. I'm sorry for being all over the place.
Don't worry. I was kind of busy for the last month.
I bet you were. Good job. This is great.
Yeah, awesome work.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Simona.
You go. I was just going to say, is it just you or who else is on your team?
Well, we're a team of 4. So there's myself, Richard, Sammy, and Steph. All working different components here, but yeah.
And was this your first hackathon, third, fourth, 10th?
I mean, we've been doing blockchain for a while now, but this is our second hackathon. The previous one was HackFS. But
awesome.
We really like Ethereum, and building something on Ethereum was obviously up our alley.
You've got the bug now. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Go ahead, Dippy.
So a lot of this is above my pay grade, but I'm curious from your perspective, what's the biggest open challenge in this project right now? And I may not understand the answer, but I'm curious to hear your view on it.
The open challenge is that people who want to make games, they have to find a way to reduce the user state to both one 32-byte object, which is not hard if you're using Merkle trees, but also they have to manage their game in a way where user transitions don't touch world state. So let's say I'm playing Pokemon, I have to be able to find a Pokemon, catch it, and update my state without having to look at any of the values on the blockchain, like what the current number of Pokemon are and all that kind of stuff. So it's possible, definitely. Like single player games do this, so it's not that hard. But that's one challenge that has to be done, is you have to change the mindset of game developers. There's also another way of using sub-vector commitments, which allow you to touch world state, but they're way more complicated. So that's another opportunity here as well.
All sub-vector commitments.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just to add to that, I love how as these new mechanisms and technologies come out, it's funny how the builder has to change their mindset and learn these new things, and almost like something new is discovered here, and like this becomes like a new kind of a new way of doing things. Like, oh, what if Dark Forest is a good example of that. Like how can we craft a game around these constraints and the neat things that come out of this. So it's good work and keep exploring.
It's a good practice of software development to build on pure functions, since it makes it a lot easier to test things. So even if this is a change in mindset for current people who are building things, it's still a good thing to do in general. So yeah, just any pure state transition is a lot easier to manage. And if this creates that good behavior, or that then it's obviously a positive.
Good work. I'll reach out on Telegram too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you,
guys.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So the next team is Darth Vega. If you guys could start sharing your screen.
Hi, Andre.
Hello, Charlie.
Do you want to just tell me a bit about who you are?
My name is Andre. I do a bunch of open source things. I do work on a few Ethereum projects like VIP Node. And I participated in the ETHGlobal hackathon to mess around with some Ethereum adjacent infrastructure with my friend Charlie here.
Hi, Andre.
Hi, Charlie. What about you, Charlie? Do you want to tell me a little about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Charlie Morris. I run a company called ETHGlobal, and I love dabbling in bits and pieces in Ethereum and in other blockchain projects. And when I knew that ETHGlobal was happening, I just couldn't help myself but to team up with Andre and have a bit of fun.
Awesome.
So Andre, what is Darth Vega?
So basically, we wanted to play around with the Vega API, and we're looking for excuses to use a few other interesting JavaScript libraries like Tone.js and Svelte. And this is kind of a mashup of all those things. So essentially, we built a block mining visualizer. Each of these little car things represents a new block that's being mined, and the width of the block represents the number of transactions happening in there. And then we also have a little treat. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so you know, Andre and I, while we enjoy visuals, we're mainly audio people. And we wanted to be able to literally groove to the sound of trades being made, but we didn't want to groove to just any tunes. In particular, we're big fans of Star Wars, and so we wanted to groove to the sound of the Imperial March. So here is the sound of Vega to the notes of the Imperial March.
So each lane represents a note, and because we're visualizing the blocks coming in, they don't always hit the notes in the right sequence, but every once in a while they do, and it really nails it.
Every time we get the 3 notes in a row, I get really excited.
Excellent. So yeah, this is kind of a beginning of a project. We have a bunch of ideas for what more we could add to it, make it kind of more of an interactive block explorer, especially once the Vega API launches, add more metadata about the real transactions happening. But do you have any other ideas, Charlie?
I mean, I'd love to just expand this both across multiple chains. Obviously, there's all sorts of things we could do with visualizations, with different sounds. I mean, we could set this to all sorts of tracks. You know, this would be basically a blockchain generated symphony.
That's true. And all of this is up on GitHub. It's MIT licensed. People are welcome to look at the code and mess with it.
Are we also going to have a live version at a URL?
That's right.
So we'll send that through. Cool. It's been a pleasure.
That's it. Thank you, Vega.
Cheers.
That was awesome. I actually have a playlist that I've created manually called Sounds of the Blockchain, which is a bunch of songs that, you know, are what I imagine consensus would sound like. But now I don't have to imagine it anymore, which is great.
Nice. Yeah, guys. You know, as we said, it's kind of a bit of kind of a silly thing, but also kind of unique. And I think it's quite difficult to understand or to visualize how blockchains are working. And so something just a little bit different, a bit audio, we thought would be a bit of fun.
Right. You'd
somebody
love
needs to
like,
sample
the rug
that.
pull. Yeah, like something happening on chain that would just like for Empire. The rug pull would be a good time to play the Empire one.
Yeah. Just have it on in the background,
space.
and then every now and then just something dramatic happens, and you get really deeply alerted. Also, I think
it's a fun space to explore.
Andre's supposed to be on here as well, but he's not, so I don't know.
Yeah. Hi.
Oh, there you are.
So what are the other ideas? Because I know that you mentioned there are other ideas that you guys have in terms of where this could go. Obviously, different tunes, different kind of genres. I could maybe do meditation to blockchain activity. That would
Meditate to the blockchain. Interesting.
I mean, that would be very, you know, meta, to be fair. I would enjoy that. But yeah, what else have you guys?
Andre, do you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, so originally our plan was to directly link the transactions happening on chain to notes. And we did that, but because it's still not real transactions right now, it kind of created a lot of repeating chaos that wasn't very enjoyable, which was actually kind of an interesting way to visualize because it was noticeable that the data wasn't real in many ways. So we're kind of want to see what it'll be like on a mainnet, and it would be ideal to really. So what we ended up doing, we limited the notes to a few different lanes, so it would always hit some kind of melody. But it'd be nice to expand it further back to really relating the notes to what the underlying data means, and that using real data. So that's one idea we would really like to explore.
Yeah. And also if we linked in multiple chains, it would really show the difference between how different chains operate. So, you know, obviously Ethereum mainnet right now, you'd have one note every 14 seconds, which wouldn't be very interesting. But, you know, and that's obviously going to change, you know, when we go to ETH2, and I just think, yeah, you do all sorts of things, just in terms of kind of audibly visualizing.
Yeah, like for example, every block could be like a little melody that'll play during the duration of the mining interval, as an example.
Interesting. You know what this also reminds me of? I don't know if you guys have ever seen, they used to do it at events a lot. Alessio used to have their little block explorer thing, and it was all lights. Combine the two and like do a Vegas fountain show situation. With all the
how about NFT ownership? I like if we could, how about there's like a certain time period where the chain created some kind of really neat sequence, and like you own the sequence from the DAO hack, right? Or something like that, where you can have that NFT now, kind of like doubling down on the meta-ness and the artisticness here. That would be fun. Another fun thing.
If a block is mined and nobody hears it, did it even exist?
How long have you been saving that? The format of this whole presentation was wonderful. Good job, guys. I think that's definitely a hat tip to the format where you guys interviewed each other on the Zoom. That was neat.
Yeah, very well done. Very well done. Super fun.
Cheers, guys.
I also love the "what the hell is going on" button. I feel not enough projects have that on. So yeah, great work. Look forward to more.
Yeah, next hackathon. You guys better be there.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, so that about wraps up this Q&A. So now we will be entering a 10-minute break. Judges, feel free to turn off your camera, go on mute, and get a quick snack. We'll be reconvening at 2:08, and yeah, the next team will be Clash of Years. All right, see you guys there.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're just waiting on a few more people, so stand by. All right, Andy, if you're good to go, let's restart.
Shouldn't we wait for Simona?
Yeah, she's here.
Oh, okay. Just didn't
here.
see the camera. Okay. So yeah, the next team is Clash of Gears. If you guys could start sharing your screen, that would be nice.
No audio.
Sorry, we can't hear any audio. Could you reshare with the audio clicked or toggled?
Yep, just a minute. Let me reshare.
We are all awake.
Hi, my name is Sean. Hello everyone, my name is Irvin. We are building the Clash of Gears.
So Clash of Gears is literally just taking NFTs from the virtual world and put them in the physical world, where the NFTs of a robot can be represented as an actual real life robot. And so it's similar to Pull Together, where you essentially stake and enter into a tournament. So we're going to go ahead and authenticate with audios because music really plays a key role in the user experience of a game or any kind of event, and it'd be really cool to kind of share these tracks or play some of your favorite tracks while you're playing a game. So as soon as this loads up, we can go ahead and connect to MetaMask. So it was already connected, so let me disconnect really quick. Then try to connect again. Okay. And so just for the purposes of this demo, we're going to go ahead and stake 10 cents. So we're going to go ahead and do an EAP 712. So we got to sign that message, and then we're going to use Biconomy to perform a meta transaction. So we go ahead and sign it again. So I have to click approve. So once we sign that message, the economy is just going to go ahead and send that transaction out. And you can go ahead and check it out actually in Matic's Explorer. Actually, let me just go ahead and stake, and I can take a look at that transaction. Okay, so this is Biconomy message signature. So go ahead and check out the transaction hash. I can go ahead and take that and look it up on Matic just to make sure that the transaction went through, to verify for you guys. And yep, there you go. It was successful a few seconds ago. So I can go ahead and join. So it seems like the page has already loaded. And so one of the key things here is that you could actually play this game virtually, so where you're fighting these robots in our virtual arena, or you can even go and play them in a physical tournament. So this is what sort of the test arena will look like. So being able to control these sort of robots. And so now these robots have different strengths, different capabilities, and even different physical forms. And we developed this little robot to be modular, so essentially we could fit different kinds of weapons. So let's go ahead and enter the online match, and we already defined an actual match ID. We're gonna call it ETHOnline. So as soon as I join, that's me right there. So I have to wait for Sean to join in, and the match will begin. It'll start streaming. All right, so this is one of the matches that we're taking place. So just I'm fast forwarding the video right now. Yeah, a lot of things went wrong, honestly, with these robots, especially when the robots flipped over. There's an IMU sensor that's supposed to go off and trigger our smart contracts, but sometimes the actual sensors move around and that actually detect when the robot had flipped. So really behind the scenes, it's just like any other kind of NFT game where you have your avatar, in this case is a robot, and you get to fight these robots and power them up, and then face each other in a one-on-one arena. Now, the difference is that we really want to be able to represent these robots in the physical world. So those little robots are running Raspberry Pis, and they're able to pull the properties from the NFTs that the actual user holds. And so if the user has an NFT robot that has a strength of 100, right, is more powerful than one that has a strength of 50 overall. So the robots themselves can communicate with the smart contracts, and we're using Chainlink to match the starting of the tournaments and also random factors within the online arena. So we think it's really cool because essentially we're transferring the virtual world onto the physical world, and also allowing people from across the world to kind of join and be able to fight and interact with these robots. So I think it's pretty fun. And it's also a no-loss game. So essentially the price is just the interest earned on the pool itself. For future work, we really want to release the first generation of these robot fighter NFTs, and we're designing the models of the robots to kind of match those also in the virtual game. And we really want to open source our actual robots, so we made these robots modular, and also some of the software that reads from the NFTs. And additionally, I think when we implement this game, we would like to add a tipping functionality after a tournament, so we get to tip artists from audience whose songs were playing during the tournament. And also another interesting thing that we were thinking was gas tipping. So essentially, part of the price itself could go towards gas for future games. So thank you.
Awesome.
I feel like there should always be a prize for whoever incorporates the most amount of sponsorship prizes. Like there should be like some kind of around the house prize where you checked all the boxes. With that in mind, this might be a little bit too complicated, and you might be trying to do like way too many things at once. It's really, I mean, you really did tick a lot of boxes though. One would be like meta transactions versus having to be onboarded, but there's kind of the reason why you would use a meta transaction is because they don't even know about Ethereum yet and they're just getting in. But in this case, they're also they have to deposit into Aave, right? So maybe the meta transaction isn't that important, but you're ticking off some of the boxes. Again, I'd probably carve out some of the complexities there and just go with one or the other. And then, I mean, I love it's like stereomorphic, like the way you put the breadboards into the 3D, but then it's actually in the real world. Like it's again, it's confusing because there's a lot of things going on, but like you could pick any one of those things and they would make a great hackathon project. So I guess in total, it makes a great hackathon project and it goes around the world for sponsorship prizes. But good work. And again, I've said this a lot, this is a great place to be experimenting, playing around with how the physical world meets and how gaming works and the no loss kind of staking and the game mechanics behind that. So great job, great hackathon project, guys. I hope to see you continue this and other projects on Ethereum.
See, one of the interesting things that I was thinking about with all of these very different things plugged in is you can potentially have like baby robot things that just do like very basic things, and then you graduate into like bigger, more complex robot making things. Like I would see the little robots, once you get to a certain level, sold at Christmas as like a learning tool for kids or whomever to kind of start learning about these things. And then you progress and you do the audience thing and you do the staking and you do all sorts of crazy shit.
No, definitely. I think we were thinking initially is because a lot of the games that are NFT based are sort of not interactive. So I think it's quite interesting to see when we think about the metaverse and how the physical and virtual world could meet, definitely. But yeah, I'm more with what you guys are saying, definitely.
Yeah, I love the creativity here, and I think like as it points to a future that I think we're definitely going to live in, and it actually reminds me a little bit of like the original Ethereum white paper, where like it's, you know, a car is described driving itself autonomously and like paying the repairman to fix it. So like the interaction of the physical world as controlled by smart contracts, I think is a super interesting direction to play with, and yeah, what better place to start than Robot Wars? So. I think it's a super creative idea and fun hack.
That's a fun theme that we're seeing here too, is kind of some of the high ambitions of the white paper and the yellow paper in terms of use cases actually starting to get applied closer and closer to the real world with each new hackathon that happens. So right. I hope to see you guys here, and I want to see you guys do next also.
Definitely. I should give you guys a paper.
Yeah, that's all the time we have for Q&A. Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
work, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next team is Flashbank. If you guys could start sharing your screen. There currently isn't any audio. If you could reshare with audio enabled.
Yep.
Hey everyone, we are Team XYZ, and today we are here to present Flashbank, which is basically a set of smart contracts that are built on top of Compound protocol that allow people to supply assets for other people to take flash loans from. So Compound is one of the biggest DeFi protocols. It has almost $1 billion worth of assets logged, but all of these assets are not available for flash loans like other protocols provide, like Aave and Uniswap. So using Compound's dedicated borrowing feature, we have built Flashbank on top of Compound that allows you to deposit C tokens over here, and then anyone can come in and take out the DAI as a flash loan from your C tokens, and you can get a sweet 0.03 fees from that. So let's start with a quick demo. So I have some DAI in my wallet and some ETH in my wallet, and I'm going to supply 5 DAI to Compound protocol. It's offering me a nice 19.42% APY. I'm going to be rich. Sending a transaction to supply. We are on Coven, so it takes 4 seconds for a block. Hopefully we'll get in the next one. It seems like we did. Yep, so we have 212 C DAI tokens, and let's deposit just 1 C DAI token. Let's do a quick approve. So we have like a big APY number, but it's just because the logged assets are very small. This whole contracts are deployed on Coven. These earnings from when we were testing these contracts. This is the pool fee that we have decided for now, but this might change later. The tokens have been approved. Let's do a quick deposit. As soon as the tokens are deposited, you'll have some LP shares, and you can easily withdraw those LP shares at any point of time. Let's try taking a flash loan and see this whole protocol on fees for people who supply C tokens. Let's take a quick flash loan. So what it does internally is it just takes a flash loan and gives some fees, but people could plug in any arbitrary contract logic as it works with Uniswap flash swaps and Aave flash loans. Let's wait for this transaction to go through. The current earnings were 0.0808 and they have been updated. Let's see the fees on Etherscan. Yeah, so this is the fees received on the protocol. Yeah, so this is just like a light wrapper on top of Compound that allows people to use their C tokens and earn without any security implications. We also intend on sending like a formal governance proposal to Compound to integrate Flash loans natively. We have used Compound, obviously, Chainlink and Pocket Network to build this whole app quickly. Thank you guys for hearing us.
I think this is like this is a blueprint for how simple your hackathon project should be. You guys are perfectly focused on one little piece here. You're saying what we want to do is give a third party the ability to lock up their tokens to lend those out to other people. You provide a nice clean interface. This is exactly the kind of thing that comes out of a hackathon that becomes very useful and other people use, because you focus perfectly on just the product and what it needs to do. And it looks like it does that thing very well. It's kind of like the back in the day of the Moloch, where Amin was talking about, I want this thing to be very forkable. I want someone to be able to take this and just apply it to any token or whatever. And I would love to see 3 other groups take what you guys have done here and apply it to different tokens and different settings. But fantastic work. This is a great hackathon project.
Thank you so much.
Agreed. Super simple, super effective. And yeah, I would love to see it applied to other tokens as well for the protocols. But yeah, great work.
Yeah, I agree. I love the attention to detail on the user interface. Is just super, super clean and intuitive, and I feel like that often doesn't get enough love. That's an afterthought for a lot of hackathon projects, but it makes it very clear, what the value proposition is. So I like the the emphasis there.
Thank you so much.
And just to double down on that, I would love to see like the developer experience here, right? You're talking about once they have the Flash loan, there's basically like a little chunk of solidity where they're allowed to do anything with that Flash loan. Set that up for a developer. Let them npm install this thing and set what their token is and set what they want to do. There's for the developer who wants to take the Flash loan, for the developer that wants to set up the platform, make this like npm install, and you'll see a lot of other people use it in the next hackathon.
Definitely. Thank you so much, everyone, for your sessions.
Where do you guys think where do you think you'll take it from here?
So the next step for us is creating a Compound proposal, sending a Pear for native integration, because the Flash loan layer should be as close to the assets as possible. We also were thinking about adding this to Yearn, but yeah, that will be later down the lane. And it was just very evident to us that something like Flash loans and Flash mints should be a part of the DeFi stack, and they would ideally harden up all the other protocols to like boost up on their security efforts, like we have seen today with Harvest. So yeah,
very cool.
That's the next step.
Very cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep, good work. I hope to see this as a primitive. Get this out and clean up the GitHub. Get it very forkable. Like think about the developers.
For sure. Thanks, Austin.
End of Q&A.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, so the next team is Crypto Pear. You may begin sharing your screen.
Okay, before I begin, I just wanted to say, so since this is a hackathon, I played around with a ton of different sponsored technologies that were all awesome. Oh no, don't play yet. Some were familiar, some weren't, but I made sure to use them strategically and, to basically do it for both application and user experience. The core of this project is basically to use ERC 721 tokens to sell and trade physical items, a trend that I hope will continue in the future. Hello everyone, I'm Derek. and this is Pear, a decentralized online marketplace. The current model that digital marketplaces use doesn't provide enough liquidity or security for users. There are many scams and many items go buried underneath different posts in the classified section. Both of these are iPhone X's, but they can be sold or bid at different prices. The price that you bid at will basically determine how quickly your item can be sold, much like a regular Ethereum token on any exchange. Furthermore, I came up with the idea based off of the success of 2017's CryptoKitties to represent these online items as non-fungible tokens. Given that in many of the same cases, they can be exactly the same, but represented at different prices because, you know, there are unique things about them. Maybe they're, you know, in poor condition, you know, maybe it was signed by someone who's famous. So during ETHOnline, I used many sponsored technologies to put together a system that would help me make an efficient online trading platform. Let's get that up. But let me do that. NFTs. As you can see here, there's a deep lead projector for sale for $71. If a user would like to, they could buy it and they would own that token. Sorry about that. All right, so this is the live demo. Sorry about that. So let's jump into a live demo. So the idea is to be able to, you know, have categories to buy and sell things on the side. But the functionality that I implemented this weekend was the ability to upload and sell NFTs. As you can see here, there's a deep lead projector for sale for $71. If a user would like to, they could buy it and they would own that token. Here, a user can log in. A user could buy this deep lead projector for $71, which is represented as an NFT token, or upload an item of their choosing. I would like to sell an iPhone X. I'm going to sell this iPhone X 256 gig phone for $988. It's posted to the marketplace, and now I have to wait for someone to buy it. Additionally, you can make direct trades with people who you've added to your address book using their ENS address. So if I want to trade with Alice, I can initiate the reach contract. And basically, that's where my code blew up. All right, so any questions?
This is a pretty hard problem to tackle, sort of the physical world and the digital world and how those collide and how you can do that in a decentralized way. It's a theme of mine saying this, but I think it's a cool place to be exploring. And I think one thing that you could do is just try to get it into other humans' hands and see how they use it. You know, bootstrap some very like local setup and see how, you know, a few people trade back and forth and see how it works out and see what you learn and then kind of build on that knowledge as you go.
Yeah, I definitely think the local, like testing it out and seeing and getting that user feedback and potentially seeing where you find real bottlenecks or real just no-go areas will help you tremendously to not go too far into the build without you know, getting that real world feedback. I think this is a particularly important one for that real world feedback.
Yeah, I really like the idea. I agree with what others are saying here about sort of like, you know, it being a hard thing to tackle, the real world being messy, and but you know, one thought that came to mind, a project that's been around, you know, since before Ethereum even existed is OpenBazaar, and you know they're trying to tackle this problem of, you know, physical goods and markets for those goods in a decentralized context. And it's interesting because they have their own standard for you know, for creating listings, which is basically like a canonical ID with some metadata hooked to it, and that's, you know, that's kind of what an NFT is. So I think that that instinct is right, which is, you know, let's take this, you know, this standard way of you know, associating a canonical ID with metadata and broaden the scope from, you know, like CryptoKitties to like physical things. I think that's likely the form it will take. But then yeah, the question is, you know, what, to whom is that an advantage? And I would say maybe it's an advantage to developers, because, you know, developers can use that standard to build their own marketplace. So that might just be a slight shift in thinking about the project. But I really like that kernel of an idea that you have here.
That's a good point. As you take on an ambitious project, you do find these little missing points and then maybe just that standard could be something, how a physical good is tracked as an NFT. If that standard is needed in Ethereum, maybe that's another good place to explore.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of marketplaces emerging, and I think the NFT space needs a standard anyway. So I think the whole dynamic of coming up with something with a functionality or a piece that is modular that can be plugged into other marketplaces would be an interesting piece that maybe wouldn't be as complex as the full user-facing piece, which is the trickiest bit of it all right now, really.
Oh, okay.
And maybe have a little chat to existing marketplaces. Who can we think of in the Ethereum space?
Well, I would start by talking to the existing NFT marketplaces, and then you know, OpenBazaar and the others that are trying to tackle physical goods. Foundation and Zora have done physical goods as well.
Zora, that's it. Yes. Zora, MetaFactory have also done it. Have a look at those guys and maybe just ping them and have a chat to them and see, hey, are there pain points? What are you doing right now with regards to this representation?
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's everything for Q&A. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you,
Derek.
Okay, so the next team is called HSM Swap. If you guys could share your screen, we can get this started. HSM Swap, are you guys there?
I think we may have lost them. I just promoted them. Stand by, everyone.
Well, this is a little tragic.
Okay, we did lose them from the call, but we're going to reschedule. I'm going to do a verbal for the next team. The next team is going to be Plantary. If you guys could raise your hands, you'll be promoted. All right. Okay, Plantary, you can start your screen share whenever you're ready. Thanks.
My other team member is about to join here. Please hang on. There she is.
Plantary is a smart contract to mint NFTs. It's built with Rust for the Near blockchain, and it's a mix of a game and an art collecting platform. The first type of NFT you can buy with the game are the plants, and each plant is an artwork. We offer several types of plants. One of them is, for example, the portrait plant. We also offer an oracle plant, a money plant, insult plant, complement plants, and we will release several new types of plants as the game develops. So let's mint a plant. I'm gonna connect here to my Near wallet. Plant Lover, I just created this for the demo. And now I can go and choose a portrait plant. Right now you can only mint a random plant, so you don't know which artwork you're gonna get, but in the future I think we'll be able to pay more maybe and choose a specific artist. So right now we'll get a random plant. I pay a fee of 20 Near. And here is my plant. Each plant has a DNA, and that will have an influence on the harvest you can get from the plant. The portrait plant will let you harvest portraits, and they could be just AI-generated portraits, but can also be a special one created by the same artist who created the plant. Or the oracle plant can give you some random fortune, but can also use it to harvest a special personalized reading done by the same artist who created the plant. Let's mint a harvest from this plant. So I pay now a small fee to harvest an NFT from my portrait plant. And here it is. So here I clicked and harvest a bit more portraits, and finally I got a portrait created by the artist. And it's called Dennis. So this will be more valuable. Each harvest will have like a different rarity and other characteristics that you will be able to then sell or trade them and collect them just like trading cards. We started working on this project last month, so it's built on previous work. We started with a bare-bone Rust contract that you could interact using just a command line. So for ETHOnline, this past weeks, we developed this contract a lot more. We basically refactored the NFT implementation, the fetch methods. We scratched several bugs. We added a lot of artwork to the pool. Thanks a lot to the crypto artists who submitted. We also created this React front end that I'm using now in this demo. And now you can mint both plants and harvest, plus display the NFTs in your wallet. We still have a lot to go, but it's taking shape. And it's been a great way to learn Rust and get familiar with Near. In the future, we hope to be able to program also the ability to breed plants, and of course, to be able to trade and sell them in the market. So that was our demo. Thanks a lot.
Great job. Super cool. It reminds me of, there was a project in like 2017, I think, that tied actual physical plants that were growing in some lab with a webcam on them to NFTs. This is obviously a very, very different idea, but there's some parallels, and it's very cool, you know, to have these sort of dynamic art pieces that are collectible. So I really like the direction you're exploring.
Yeah, really good. Are the things that you harvest then, are they pretty random? Is that the idea?
Well, you can choose basically. Right now, you can only choose a random harvest, But
Okay.
you might be able also to pay some extra for a specific harvest. We don't know exactly yet. For sure, the plants, you will be able to pay more to get a specific artist who created the plant. And you might be able also to select a specific harvest. But I actually really like the random part because it's, it's kind of more fun. It's like a surprise. You don't know what you're going to get. So we might leave it just a random. We don't know yet.
Yeah, I like the randomness element, and maybe you could even gift it to somebody and then just, the gift that keeps on giving, where they could just continuously interact with it and produce other random and potentially really, really valuable pieces out of it. Very interesting.
The breeding is really, and I know that's not completely implemented now, but it looks like the GAN, like the GAN AI images where they're like mixing things. It looks just like a GAN, like you could do that breeding. That wouldn't be on chain, but it's a fun thing to see. And this is kind of a weird thing, but a lot of the art projects on Ethereum are kind of like nerd first, art second. And I love like the art first aspect of this and true like artisticness that goes into this. So whatever it is, wherever you go from here, stick with Ethereum, stay around and keep building on blockchain. Maybe the Ethereum question is there. I noticed this is on Near. Does it bridge to Ethereum, or how does that work? Do the NFTs bridge once they're...
Hopefully they will eventually, because basically the Near NFTs are super brand new. So it's really one of the first projects that, quite challenging to be working with. But the bridge, they're already working on a bridge for NFTs. It's not there yet, but I think pretty soon it will be totally possible to bridge and switch them between chains.
Yeah, because right now you can only do ERC20s. And then I think Minbase is moving over to, well, not moving over, but also doing Near as well. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one.
Yeah, I think there is someone already like starting to build a bridge, but it is really, really in the beginning. It's not like fully usable yet, but hopefully soon. And also for the breeding, there are also possibilities. For example, if you breed plants from different artists and they are up for it, it could be a collaboration between two artists that can result from such breeding, things like that. We really want to work a lot with artists and give them a lot of like space to really propose things and new crazy ideas for plants and harvests and mixes thereof.
Yeah, it's fun, just the exploration. There's so much emergence that can come out of that. Sorry, Simona, go ahead.
I was just going to say a project that would, I think, have a chat to Minbase. They were definitely working on that bridge for NFTs, but also the Dada project. I feel it's something that they would be really, really up for potentially, because they're really into, like, I can just see these collaborations between artists, and then you maybe have an auction that basically merges the different work by different
actually artists. From the plans that we show, like two of the artists that contributed are Dada artists.
Yeah, it's their jam for sure. So yeah, have a chat to them. Let me know if you want me to introduce you to the Dada team or anything like that to continue the conversation. But very interesting, and yeah, great work.
Okay. And what about just like you folks, like, are you... Oh, okay, cool. That's okay.
Yeah, thank you for your time, guys.
Please stick around. Keep building. Please keep building.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So the next team is HSM Swap. Hopefully this time around they'll be able to share screen.
So with HSM, the concept is to work on new security for the user. So problem with blockchain is how you handle your private keys, so you can handle them yourself in your browser wallets like MetaMask or HSM key like Ledger. That not quite easy to use and still complicated for the user to keep safe with this kind of tool and know the exact level security she's using. You can keep the private key on the cloud, but if you use any cloud company, you don't really trust them. And if you use big exchange, after you go under regulation, and there is still scan and exchange that are locked actually. So one of the solution is to use the same as bank using, I mean HSM, hardware security module, that is kind of a really secure server. And to use certified code linked to the blockchain that is injected to the HSM, so we make sure that what's happening inside the HSM is safe. Your private key, it's keep secure, and everything you do on it, it's private, and only you can decide what you are doing. So technical problem with HSMs, it's HSMs that run only low-level C code that need to be optimized for the HSM. So when I start working, I find poor documentation on Ethereum for low-level cryptographic functions that are used. Even the yellow paper is missing some parts. There is not much Ethereum C library that you can reuse. And they use non-standard crypto encoding, like for example using a fixed K parameter for ECDSA, using keycat hash instead of the standard SHS-3, and using RPL serialization. It's quite unique, I think, for Ethereum. So what I have working on trying to handle transaction in C directly. So I have re-implemented a keycat hash in C. I have implementing the RP encoding. I fight a lot with the ECDSA signature with this kind of strange K and V parameter, and I connected to the blockchain using Infer API to send the transactions that I've created. I wanted to work more doing ERC-VN token call and DeFi contract call to work with the sponsor of the hackathon, but I didn't get the time. So the scenario is quite simple. I generate locally a K, I get a wallet from it, I send ETH from my MetaMask wallet to this wallet, I display the balance, create the transaction, and process the transaction. So I did not have time to really finish what I wanted to do, but what can I say? I mean, one transaction have passed for sure, so that was this transaction that I sent before, but most of the transaction get failed for now. I hope that we have the time this weekend to fix this problem and have a more stable app. Thank you.
Wow, that's a lot. Like having to. Oh, I gotcha. Can you hear me? We good? It seems like very complicated. One of those, like, again, this is probably over my head. It seems like we need to connect you with some of the lower level guys that understand this stuff a little bit better. But if you're rewriting the Kachek library in C and that doesn't exist yet, it's like, oh man, like we as an ecosystem should do a better job or have something more better available or something. But it seems like this was a very highly technical thing to tackle, not just the lower level libraries, but bringing them all together and being able to send transactions and do wallet-like things. So first of all, I don't know exactly who to connect you to with yet. Let's hear what these other folks say, but we need to connect you with other technical people within the ecosystem to make sure you're not operating kind of in the dark. Make sure we get some, your work and get some light on your work.
Yeah, 100%. So my straight off the bat suggestion would be Corey from Status. on our side. He heads up security and privacy, so he will be the person to chat to. And I'm more than happy to get you guys in touch so that you can have those conversations around, I mean, our primary focus is privacy. So I will definitely put you in touch with Corey so you guys can have a chat.
Yes, sounds good.
Jesse, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm glad you noted a lot of the challenges you were having, you know, and you know, the blockers. Obviously, it's a really tough problem to tackle in the span of a hackathon. But I'm curious, besides the challenges that you had, like what were the fun parts for you working on this, and you know, for others that might be interested in this problem, like, you know, how would you get them excited about it? What was fun about working on this?
Actually, working on low level, the thing with Ethereum, I think first it was more simple, but when I started implementing it, I'd figured out that there was some little parameters that I need to change that was not standard in cryptographic function. So mostly in C, Ethereum stuff use the Bitcoins, lib crypto, that work quite well, but it cannot be translated directly to HSM. So I have to find workaround and find how can I get information, how people have implemented in the past and stuff like this. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a game when you are looking for something to work, and when it actually works at the end, it's kind of like big success because you put a lot of effort on it. So so I've been able to make it working a bit better this weekend. So now I only have one transaction out of 2 that is not passing. It was a bit better result, but it's still not stable. So I need to fight out more on this low cryptographic for Ethereum.
Another good step forward might be finding something within this setup that could use a second hackathon, and maybe even writing a grant proposal for that thing. Document the problem, and let's get it in front of some other people and see if we can pull you into the space a little bit tighter.
Yeah, I have a lot of projects to build on top of it, because when you be able to lock asset into an HSM, you can decide we own it, you can make exchange within the HSM. It can be like a lot of things going on inside of it, but first I need to be able to validate transaction as basic signature and stuff like this. So that's the first step this hackathon, and I hope for the next hackathon, when this one will be working, I will be able to build more interesting user-friendly application.
And just leaning into this, don't stay in the dark. Get up, talk to other people, make sure you're communicating with other people in the space. There's a lot of smart folks around.
100%.
Right, yeah. So that's all the time we have for Q&A.
Good hackathon project.
Okay.
Great job.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right, so the last team that we have is called Co-op Game. If you guys could start sharing your screen.
Hi everyone, I'm here to present Co-op, blockchain economy-based 3D world games. And this is a submission for ETHOnline October Hackathon 2020. And the team for same is myself, Sahesh, and with me, Nick Loki. Some of the fundamentals we want to keep is DeFi-like ease, decentralized economy, and no financial entry barrier. But if you do on-chain transaction, you'll get an edge or ability. Current prototype, what we have is a level we call Happy McFace Deathmatch inside Co-op. It's a simple mechanic where players can send funds to a pool for a round, which gives them ability. In this case, it's armor. And you deathmatch, pew pew, and winner takes all. So let's jump to the demo. So we have a server here running on a cloud. And I've opened up an instance as a player. We connect to the server and we connect our Ethereum account. So this registered our public address as our player ID, and I've done the same for 2 more players over here. Now any player can start the queue, and between this queue, players can send funds to the server pool to obtain an ability. Using ENS to make things easier. And we are gonna send 0.55 Ether. So 1 Ether is 100 ability, 0.55 Ether is 55 ability. It's also whale-proof in sense if you send more than 1 Ether, you'll only get 100 ability. Transaction has been included in the block 216 and our queue inside block 217. as we can see, the player who made the transaction has 55% of ability, which is armor. And now we deathmatch. Also notice the price pool on the top is 0.55 Ether. And our player ID with 0311 has won a price pool of 0.55 Ether. And on the server we can see a transaction has been initiated of 0.55 Ether, which has been sent to the winner. And we can confirm it on EtherScan. So what's happening there is we have DeFi wallet, which sends the public address, player ID in the game engine, and they initiate transaction on the blockchain. The game engine reads the data from the blockchain, and it assigns player properties accordingly, which everything happens on the multiplayer cloud server. So how the current pool fund management happening is there's a server wallet, which is the price pool, funds to this server wallet. In future, I would like to explore it more towards making it into a smart contract. There are some technical and fundamental problems which needs to be explored there. You can check it out, and it's ready to play at coop.embracingearth.space. Just a fun hackathon project, and in future maybe this can be expanded towards having different stages where players are competing to solve a puzzle or win, and maybe they get an NFT on winning, so gameplay itself becomes like a farm, a way of distribution of this coin. That ability gives you an edge of getting this. These can be used to burn and create in-game items, which are different NFTs itself, like vehicles, armor, stuff like that, creating a secondary strategic marketplace. There was also this idea of if you're using certain protocols according to it and levels in it, you can have different player skins, which bring a diverse range of strategies to choose from. This also enables clans and teams. So that was it. It was a very fun project, a very fun hackathon, and thanks for listening. Check it out. Have fun. Deathmatch.
Your meme game is strong. I feel like you led with a good meme game, and that's important. I feel like that's an important part of any hackathon project. This idea of like interest-bearing games, and even this whole, we have this really cool game built in Unity, but what's important about it is how the interaction happens on the blockchain, leads me to this could maybe be a good product in itself, no game aside, but creating the package for Unity that then all these other AAA developers could just plug this in and have, okay, now it's an interest-bearing deathmatch, right? Like that, and then, you know, a million other primitives that could have Aave as the back end also. But the idea here of, we've seen some okay games, like that game would be fun to play. It would be fun. Don't get me wrong. But there's also these AAA developers out here that are building these games that have no way of connecting to blockchain. You happen to have the knowledge of both sides. If you could build that plugin in the middle, that could be a product in itself.
Yeah, so that was my question, initial question, how you can have big open world games exist on the blockchain. And what I found was maybe putting like all the logic on the blockchain of games like GTA, Skyrim, it's not something feasible, or we don't even want to do that. So maybe intertwine the game so much with the blockchain that it ceases to exist with the blockchain, and you can have different APIs reading every checkpoints and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to have movement and everything on chain, right? But if you could set up a service itself that lets some on-chain element check in with your server to see if they're at a certain location, or check in to see who won, and maybe there could be multiple servers that are signing things, like you could add some decentralization to it. But I really like the primitive here of, let's make interest-bearing games a plugin for Unity, and all of these developers can just grab that and throw that in as part of their setup. That sounds fun to me too. But great hackathon project, and a fun place to explore.
It was very fun.
Was this your first one, or?
Yes, this was my first hackathon, Ethereum hackathon.
Cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I also really like this space because it pulls together a lot of different disciplines. And yeah, to Austin's point, I think really zeroing in on what's new and different here would be, it's too much in the scope of a hackathon to invent an entirely new game and make it like completely awesome. But you could potentially in a follow-up make the primitive of interest-bearing games like extremely simple for developers to integrate. So now that you've sort of scoped out the territory yourself, like that may be an area push forward. I guess I'm curious, what was the biggest learning for you, given this your first Ethereum hackathon?
So I think what I wanted to have was a MetaMask kind of login and the DeFi kind of experience. So just getting that player ID through HTML and then putting it on the server and reading the data from the blockchain, comparing it with that player ID and assigning the properties and just automating the whole process together. That was fun.
Cool.
Neat. Yeah. What kind of tools did you use? Did you have to deploy any of your own smart contracts?
No, currently no. It's just using Etherscan API. It's using Ethereum inside Unity and Ethereum.
Do you see yourself participating in the next hackathon? Are you going to stick around? Awesome. I can't wait to see. Hit me up if we can help with anything too. That's kind of why we're here too, as mentors. I'm at Austin Griffith on Twitter, so ping me if I can connect you with anyone or if there's something that's interesting.
Yep. Same here.
All right, yeah. So that's everything for our Q&A.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, that is the last team. Just a quick note to the judges. You may see that there are 2 other teams maybe in your list, not your keys, not your crypto, and wallet was misset in this change. So those are all the teams we've just completed.
Okay.
Hopefully I have not frozen.
I think I kind of missed some of that, but we're good. We had completed them. Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
We're good. Yes, we're good.
Awesome. Great.
That's it. Thank you all to the judges, Jesse, Simona, and Austin. Thank you, Andy, for keeping time. Great set of hacks. That's a wrap for this session. Goodbye, everyone.
Awesome. I'd love to see how these projects are getting better and better. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Great.
Summit's this Friday, October 30th, the summit and finale.
October 30th. See you guys. I'll have my bow tie.
Awesome.